Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. For today's video, we are going to be talking about the price of Bitcoin and the recent breakout that we have seen after the FOMC meeting. We're also going to be sharing with you guys my top favorite Arbitrum altcoins going into this next cycle that I think are going to be providing some of the biggest gains that you can possibly find. All of Arbitrum is taking off now that the token has been released, and we're going to talk about how to make the most money possible off of it over the next couple years. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, we're going to jump straight into the price of Bitcoin and talk about what the heck is going on in the short term. Now, as you guys can see, we saw this massive sell-off after the FOMC meeting, and that's why I didn't record yesterday and I didn't upload a video, because I literally just don't like trying to predict anything that's going to happen during those, because we never really know what's going to happen. We did see this massive sell-off that took place, but as you guys can tell, over the last 24 hours, the price of Bitcoin immediately rebounded all the way straight back up, and so we're at the same exact price that we were leading into that meeting. So I don't think anything really matters up to this point. Overall, Bitcoin still looks pretty bullish. Bitcoin looks like it's most likely going to break out. I figured that if it was going to end up actually selling off, it was going to happen right here, and we did sell off after that meeting, but I was expecting a much bigger sell-off, something like this, and then for us to come all the way back down and actually retest the range highs. We didn't see that. Bitcoin's already rebounding. That tells me that the market's most likely more bullish, and so I'm going to be looking in at a bigger impulse. Now guys, in the short term, we needed to talk about something that's a little bit different from what we've been covering. We've been talking about my L8 wave count, talking about how this entire thing was our first impulse. We finished our correction of the 618. We know that we've been covering all of that stuff. So what that would mean is that this entire move is a wave one. If that's accurate, and if that's the true L8 wave count that we're following, that would mean that we just entered wave 3. And so wave 3 is often one of the biggest, one of the most impulsive, and one of the most volatile, and really the most profitable of the L8 wave impulses. And so if we are actually following this L8 wave count, we would expect to see a very large move off of this low, right? We would expect to see a move probably more consistent to 2019, where we would rally all the way upwards of this 618, which is going to be about $48,500. I know I told you guys that I didn't think that that was likely, but the problem is we ended up doing my correction that I was watching for. You guys know I was expecting this entire correction, but instead of it happening in 2 weeks like it did, I expected that it was going to take, couple months and do something like that, right? It did not happen like that. And because we had such a big breakout, what it told me is that the market could actually be way more bullish than I was initially anticipating. The market's just taken off in a big way. And that would make sense if we are truly inside of some type of a wave 3 impulse. So that's the primary count. Now, the bearish alternative count is the one that we're going to talk about right now, because this is very important when it comes to moving forward with how Bitcoin is going to consolidate. There's other people that are drawing this as being a wave 1. Now this entire move and this next impulse is being a wave 3 and a wave 4. And then this most recent impulse as being our true wave 5. Instead of this one like we've been drawing being wave 5, they're drawing this as being a wave 5. And I can definitely see that playing out either way. Now the way that they're drawing this is it's an expanded flat correction, where when we topped at the top of our wave 3, and made our first sell-off, that was wave A. The impulse that I drew as a wave 5, they're looking at that as a wave B, which in an expanded flat, the wave B actually breaks above the impulse. And then we see one final wave C, and then that's a typical wave C sell-off, right? And so I do understand that correction, and I can definitely see that. There are certain cryptos that actually look like they're following this setup, but I do see either scenario, and so I think the best thing is simply just to plan for both. We bought back in on this sell-off right here. I told you guys and made you guys updates talking about why I was buying back in. So now that we're seeing the breakout, if we see a sell-off, I'm going to buy more. If we see it continue to break out, I'm already in, so it doesn't really matter either way. And that's the power of simply being in on the market, or at least buying back in on the dips. And so I don't really know what's going to happen in the short term. The big thing that I've been watching is the fact that I knew that we had this entire area of pretty much just free sky above once we could actually clear above the August highs. And the fact that we've done that is a very bullish thing. And so the big thing now in the short term at least is the fact that we've already cleared above all the free sky. Now we're at resistance again. So are we going to be able to break above first try? And if we are, really guys, I would be expecting a move upwards of about 31.8K. Something like this, run up to here, and then from there we might see a deeper pullback. But that's what I would be watching for if we continue to break out from where we're at today. But that's what I'm watching for in the short term as far as a bigger Elliott wave count. What this reminds me of almost perfectly is the same structure as what we saw back in 2019. So we went through 3 months of accumulation down here after a massive capitulation. This was taking us at the bottom of a 4-year cycle. The bottom of our 4-year cycle was right here. Now, this was the first breakout that we saw after accumulation, was this one right here. And this was the consolidation that it went through after we broke out. It went through this really choppy type of price action before we went into this massive breakout to the upside, right? And this was the move that we saw in 2019 in total. If we come out here, we look at the price of Bitcoin, it went all the way up to this 618 Fibonacci zone. And so that's why I'm talking about and making the comparison today, is because we could very easily see the move up to the 618 and it would behave similar to the price action that we saw here, which would make sense that if we're going to follow the same type of a move, that the price action would look the same. And this price action right here looks identical to the price action that we just saw and went through right here. And that's why I say that we very easily could see a much bigger move like 2019 in Bitcoin, is because the price action is very similar as well. This type of consolidation, this choppy type of consolidation, and then this breakout that we just saw reminds me a lot of what we're at right over here. And so if we do see that type of a move, we would be rallying all the way up to 48K per Bitcoin. And that would be the 618 for this cycle. All the way up here to $48,500, which would make sense if we're going to follow my main wave count that I've had for so long, this being a 1 wave. Wave 3 would technically need to go to $35,500 if it's even going to be the same size as wave 1, which has to happen in a wave 3. So it would have to go to at least $35,500. We'd see a pullback, and then we would still have one more final wave 5. But my opinion, wave 3 would probably go higher than that. We'd probably go upwards of $40,000, see a pullback, and then we would see wave 5 taking us upwards of the 618, and it would be something like this. That was pretty much what we saw over here in that 2019 cycle, and so we would see some sort of variance of that, but that's the way the Elliott waves count would look. That was the way the Elliott wave count kind of worked in our last cycle, but the big thing I'm trying to point out here is the fact that because we had that same sort of accumulation of breakout, we could have a very real potential where this thing just breaks out in a much, much quicker and bigger way than people are anticipating. So I just want you guys to at least be prepared, at least be aware of that. Now, one of the other things we wanted to talk about here is Arbitrum. Now, Arbitrum had the airdrop. This is the KuCoin chart, and it peaked at about $11.50. So shout out to anybody that was able to sell the top. I wasn't actually awake in that time, so I didn't end up selling it. I planned to hold it for the long term anyways, and so that's just what I'm going to continue to stick to, at least for now. It hovered around just over $1, right in here at $1.10. We ended up making our first impulse up to $1.42, and we did break out from this descending resistance, but we're kind of just in no man's zone right now. It's hard to say what's going to happen. I'm only on a 1-minute time zone, but now that it's actually released, I do believe that it's going to probably consolidate somewhere throughout here, and then it'll end up making some type of a move. My guess is whoever was going to sell has already sold, or maybe not. You know, a lot of people couldn't even claim theirs. I've claimed mine, but my plan was always to hold, so that's what I'm going to do. So if you guys are excited about this, I think that there's going to be a ton of new liquidity because of this added into these Arbitrum altcoins, and a lot of them are showing very bullish setup. So I'm going to jump into those altcoins, explain to you guys my thoughts and details, and talk about why I think that these are so bullish moving forward from here. Now, first one on today's video is going to be TenderFi. TenderFi is one of the only, in fact, it's actually the only Arbitrum altcoin that is part of the Binance launch program. Binance takes a select few altcoins, it invests some money into them, and then it kind of gives them a little bit of early funding to help bolster their startup more or less. And then a lot of these ended up getting added to Binance itself. And so this is the earlier part of the cycle, so these are some of the first coins that have got got added to that program. And this is the only Arbitrum altcoin that is part of that program, and I believe that there were 17 total cryptos. Now, this is one of my favorite ones. I think that this one's going to take off in a big way. It's only got $3.5 million in total market cap, so I mean, it's a very small market cap coin. If we're looking at the fullness of a 3-year bull run, this thing would have a huge opportunity of upside potential, and so that's why I wanted to give you guys this update. If you guys are looking at this, we've only ever finished a one wave. This was wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and then we just finished wave 5 most recently at the top of February. We finished our ABC correction, and so now we're actually in sub-waves of wave 3, and that's why I think that this is such a bullish setup. This correction right now is setting up to be a good buy the dip. I think we might go a little bit lower, but nonetheless, I think that even where the price is at right now, it's still a good time, because what we're talking about is big picture. This one's going to go up a lot higher than where it's at right now. Once this correction's finished, I would expect the wave 3 to come in here, be pretty big. I don't know how high it's going to go or anything. But then we still have a wave 5. I would imagine we probably come back down, consolidate around the prior all-time highs, and then that's really where we're going to see some type of big picture wave 3. This thing is going to go up a lot higher than where it's at today. I can already see the early wave structure forming. That's why I love these low caps. They have a lot more upside potential. If we're talking from where price is at today just to the all-time highs, you know, you're looking at 130% gains, and that's in a $3.5 million market cap coin that can literally just take off to that in the matter of a couple days. So you really don't want to miss out on some of these. I think that this one has good fundamentals as well, so be watching out for TenderFi. Now, next up on today's list is actually JonesDAO. JonesDAO is one that we've talked about a lot, and I'm going to continue to talk about it because I genuinely believe this project does well long term. It's only at about $17 million in total market cap, still a small cap coin when we're looking at the total view of the 3-year bull run. And so that's kind of the way that I'm focusing in on this. The wave structure is bullish, just as bullish as the other one in a lot of ways. We've only ever finished a one wave. And what's important about this is this actually has stacking one waves. I don't know if you guys have watched my prior videos. Go back and watch them if you haven't. But when we've talked about GMX, we've talked about why it's so bullish is because it had stacking one waves. And why that's one of the more bullish setups that you can get based off of Elliott wave theory. Well, we saw the exact same thing here in JonesDAO. This is a wave 1, and just recently, this impulse that we just finished is actually a wave 1 of 3. And so we're actually working inside of a 3-wave impulse right now. This was wave 1 of 3, and now we're currently working on wave 3 of 3. We'll see another 3 sets of 3. Just how this impulse was, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC, we'll see another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll do another ABC. And then that'll complete wave 3, we'll get another wave 4, and then we still have a whole nother 5-wave after that. So that's the way the Elliott waves work and why it's so important to be early to these cycles now, because we're just at the earliest part of those impulses. We haven't even gone parabolic yet. And that's what these are showing us. These things can go way higher than I have drawn. I don't know exactly, but I'm just giving you guys a rough outline of the way that these are consolidating. And so it's hard to say exactly how these are going to look. I'm not trying to draw exactly or give you guys exact time frames, but this is one of my favorite long-term holds from a fundamental perspective because of the fact it's really one of the DeFi leaders on Arbitrum. I believe that there's a ton of money on Arbitrum. I've continued to say that. I'll continue to say that until the end of this cycle because I think that a lot of people that are positioning themselves in Arbitrum are going to set themselves up to make some of the biggest gains over the fullness of a bull cycle. These are some really early market cap coins. If we're going to see a ton of adoption in Arbitrum, like I believe we will, these are going to be cryptos that end up seeing the potential of 100x gains. Everybody wants to hit 100x. Everybody wants to hit 1000x. The only way to do that is to be early at the very beginning of the cycle, buy very good cryptos that have a strong use case, and then be able to actually hold them over the course of a full 3-year uptrend. That's extremely hard to do. You know, it's easier said than done. I've fumbled so many different times on being able to hold a crypto throughout the entirety of its rally, and it's not necessarily that important to do so. But when we're this early to things, it doesn't really matter, and this is one of those that I think is going to see a lot of adoption, and so you should definitely be checking it out. Next up on the list today is going to be Vela. Vela is one that we've talked a lot about. Vela, if you guys want to get access to an airdrop, this is going to be the one on the list that you're going to want to get access to. I know I talked about this, and I told you guys that I was going to link everything in the description, and I forgot. I'm sorry. So today, if you're watching this, I will promise to do that exact thing. And so with this one, all you have to do is trade on the exchange. Trade volume equals a bigger airdrop. You guys can actually go ahead and hedge yourself long and short so you don't risk any money in the process. All you're going to have to do is pay the fee, which isn't necessarily that much. So if you guys want to go ahead and do that on the exchange, I've made a guide, and I will give you guys a link in the description to go ahead and follow that. Links are down below. Vela is a great crypto long term. I've used their exchange. I believe in their exchange because I've actually used it. And when we're comparing it to all the other dexes I've used, this is by far the best one. Now, once we can get outside this descending resistance, it's clear skies above. I believe that this one's going into a wave 3 based off the fact we only have 5 impulse waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C back down. Perfect 618 retest. And now we're actually in a subwave of wave 3 or some sort of consolidation. I think that most likely this is going to end up breaking out as long as Bitcoin continues to do good. That's my guess. And we're going to end up seeing this once we can actually get outside descending resistance. That's the big thing. If we reject from here, we could see one more lower low. But big picture, I think that we're going to get outside of this, and then we're going to be going into a much greater move as the airdrop gets announced, as their mainnet goes live. Keep in mind, these guys are still in the beta. There's not much time to actually go ahead and qualify for this airdrop. So if you guys do want to actually get one, I will link everything in the description like I just said. But this is one of my favorite long-term holds. I'm holding this long-term regardless, whether you guys get access to the airdrop or whether you just buy the coin long-term. This is one of my favorite holds, and I'm going to continue to hold what I've got long-term. So I'm going to recommend this one. Links are in the description. Now, next up on today's list is going to be Oreo Swap. Oreo Swap has got the smallest market cap out of any of these. It's only at $1.4 million, and it's hard to say what's going to happen in the short term. The reason I like this one is because I'm currently farming it for over 700% APR, and I'm making over $100 every single day just from doing that. And the token's actually been going up in value. I do believe that we could see a correction in here somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if the L8 wave count is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a 5, and we're about to see a deeper correction, maybe something like this, ABC like that. Either way, I think that this one is a good buy the dip scenario if we can actually get a dip in here. And with it being at $1.4 million in total market cap, a lot of times I don't even try and guess the price as much, but I do think that there is a potential that we could see downside risk. This has only finished a one-wave cycle. That means what's coming next is a wave 3. Oftentimes, these cycles can get very, very impulsive with it being so small of a market cap. They have token burns all the time. This one is a very legit platform. It's just a swap platform like SushiSwap or like Uniswap. And you can also provide liquidity and farm on it as well. And so that's what I've been doing with their native token. I provide liquidity with USDC. I also paired it with the Oreo that I'm already holding, and I'm earning over 700%. At one time, it was 800%. So it's a good opportunity. I think the token's going to go up regardless because they continue to do these token burns. Anytime you do that type of stuff with such a low cap, it's a very big reason for why the token ends up going up in the short term. But if you're positioned before all of those, obviously there's a better position that you're going to make more money in the process. So be watching out for this one. Next on today's list is going to be BFR. This is another decentralized exchange. I really think this one's going to be taking off in a huge way. And the chart already is setting up like that. Only finished a wave 1, currently working on a wave 3. Inside of this wave 3, this is wave 1 of 3. And I believe that what's coming next is wave 3 of 3. Wave 3. Then we still have wave 5. I don't know how high it's going to go. It's got a tiny market cap, so it could go very, very high. Then that'll only complete wave 3. We'll get some type of correction. Then we still have another wave 5 after that. So when we're looking at this one big picture, I think that this one could very easily pull some type of, maybe a 5 to 10x type of a move from where we're at today. I think we could definitely pull a 5 to 10x type of a move, big picture. This is just another decentralized exchange on Arbitrum. With all the new money coming into Arbitrum, these are some of my favorites that I've used up to this point, and I think that these are going to get a lot of adoption. We're already seeing just really good setups in the charts. We're seeing cycles that look like they're going to take off in a big way. So, ultimately it's up to Bitcoin whether we follow through with that, but that's kind of what I'm seeing up to this point, and this is a really good one to check out. Now, last on today's list is one that's not on Arbitrum, but this is going to be the only one that's not on Arbitrum, and that's going to be Mummy Finance. Mummy Finance is one I know you guys a lot. I know a lot of you guys actually hold. The reason I want to talk to you guys about this one is because I think that this one is getting fairly close to a cycle top, because the L8 wave count looks like a 1, 2, 3. We just finished wave 4. And it looks like we're getting ready to complete wave 5. So far, we finished wave 1 of 5. We're going to need wave 3 of 5. Then we're going to need wave 5 of 5. And then that will complete this first cycle. So I do believe that we could be getting fairly close to a bigger sell-off of some kind. But I do think we're going to have some more upside before that happens. So I did want to give you guys this update because if you're looking to take any sort of profit, that would be the ultimate time to do so. I'm definitely going to be taking some profit in that period, and I will look to be buying any sort of dip. I love holding this one long term because the staking rewards are pretty solid, and it's still a very low market cap coin, $10 million. It's still got a lot of upside potential, and if you like Arbitrum, this is literally just one of the Arbitrum coins being GMX that's hard forked put on Phantom Network. So it's fairly close to the same. I mean, it's the same tokenomics as the main coin itself. So I do think that it's going to actually do very well big picture. I know a lot of you guys hold it, which is why I wanted to actually cover it today. So be watching out for this. I think that this one's setting itself up for another big move. And the way the markets look, I just think the Bitcoin's probably going to end up going higher. And it wouldn't be surprising at all to see this type of a move play out big picture. I don't know exactly. Never quote me on that, but you know, ultimately, because we've been buying these dips, because we've been positioned early, we can afford to be wrong. If the market goes up like this, we're positioned and it doesn't matter. We'll make all the profit regardless. If the market decides to have a multi-month correction, like we've talked about previously, then, you know, so be it. We're positioned already that it doesn't matter. We'll just buy more and accumulate. So there's really no way to go wrong once you're already positioned into the market. When you're positioned early, the market's going to go up, you're going to profit, and then it's just a long-term holding game from there. So I'm going to keep you guys updated. If you found value in this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these updates. If you guys want to follow all these trades that I'm taking, every single one of these were provided for in my Discord. We all took these trades earlier than where we're at today. We took profits on a lot of these and compounded a lot of these. And so if you guys want to be able to get access to all of that stuff, know when I'm going to talk about this before I ever talk about it here on YouTube, you guys have to join the signals. Links are in the description to go ahead and do so. Thank you all so much for the support. These are all some of my favorite cryptos on Arbitrum, and I think that if you guys were to hold these long term, they should be able to do pretty good. That's what I believe. That's why I'm holding them personally, and so I'm going to continue to give you guys these updates. Thank you so much for the support. With that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.